Hi everyone, this is Jacob with Oak Endurance. Earlier today I filmed a video about why we should be strength training as endurance athletes. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about, we know it's good for injury prevention, we know it's good for performance, we know it's going to help us avoid mental burnout, etc. But how do we actually go about doing it, right? And then when we are doing it, what do we do, right? The how and the what. So when it comes to the how, there's a few things I'm thinking about, and they all kind of surrounding the timing of strength training. How often, when are we doing it, how long, right? So how often am I doing strength training for runners? A good rule of thumb here that I like to follow is for every 2 to 3 runs you're doing, you should be doing at least one strength training session, okay? 2 to 3 runs, one strength training session. So if you're running 7-8 times a week, I don't really care about the timing of the runs. Okay, you should probably be doing, at least, 2 sessions for that. Now this is kind of, it takes in if you're doing, if you're doing 30 plus minutes for each run. If you're someone that's currently running like a mile a week, that's a different conversation. But generally, if you're like someone that's running 30 minutes to an hour and a half a day, 2-3 sessions then, okay? When are we doing it? It's a very good question that is often asked all the time. Before strength, after strength, in the morning. If I run in the morning, then I wait 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours? Like how and when, right? To be honest, just get it in. There's a lot of, you technically could mess up your gait a little bit if you hit a super hard strength session. And you should rest, 8 hours at least after you do a run, et cetera, et cetera. There's all these like you should, right? I get that, but for the average recreational runner, which who this video is guided for, just try to get it in. Now, I will say, I do personally like to do it after running just because most, I'm sure you're all very similar to me. I just like to run first because it makes me feel better. I like to get it out of the way, and then I like to go and do strength. So I'll typically do it after a run or later that night. But it doesn't always happen that way, okay? I would think about, though, if you're doing strength training before a run, think about how hard you're going in the weight room. If you go super hard and then you go and run, it will, make running less fun. So then, how long am I strength training for? Okay, don't get too into your head about the details of this one, all right? 10 minutes after a run is a lot better than nothing, okay? 30 minutes maybe is better too. It depends on like what you're strength training and why, right? We'll get into that in the what section, but just do something, right? More of the story here, just do something. If it's an hour-long session, cool. If it gets above an hour long, usually I'm like, you're probably wasting time in the weight room and not being very effective. Personally, for me, I'm spending 45 minutes to 60 minutes in the weight room, and what I'm doing is, kind of on that next topic. So to conclude, how often? For every 2 to 3 runs, I'm doing one strength, just general rule of thumb. When am I doing it? Typically, I try to do it after runs, but just get it in. How long am I doing it? 30 to 45 minutes for myself. 10 minutes is better than nothing, okay? Moving on to the what here, okay? There's a few different key points I want to talk about with this. So what do I mean by what? Now that we're in the weight room, right? We figured out why it's beneficial, and we figured out how we're going to do it. What are we going to do, okay? First, it's very important that we all understand ego. Someone once told me ego in the weight room is off limits, something along those lines. Leave your ego at the door is what I'm trying to say, okay? More is not better, ever, in the weight room. It's like that for running too, most of the times, fun fact. But more in the weight room is not necessarily better, okay? Start with things that you have fantastic form on. Not good form, but fantastic, okay? Amazing form on. Don't overdo it. Number 2, progression of exercises. When I talk about this, I'm talking about things like body weight exercises, starting with those, mastering things like, push-ups, plank, pull-ups, dead bugs on the ground, crawling, different things like that. Start with those, Then once you're comfortable with that, you can move into things like, you know, the Swiss ball, banded lateral walkings, banded TFL walking, things like that. From there, now I'm picking up weights, right? So that's 3 steps, right, before I'm even touching weights that I'm kind of working on first as a beginner in the weight room, or even still to this day, before I'm touching weights, okay? As you get more advanced in the weight room, right, the risk of injury also increases there too. So make sure it makes sense for you. Don't overdo it. Lastly, functional. What does that mean? You're hearing all kinds of things on social media, probably on the internet, wherever, about, you know, all of these functional training methods, if they're, you know, functional patterns, functional training for runners, functional training for skiers, etc. Right? This is specifically for like the runner, endurance athlete as a whole, but, you know, focusing on kind of that road runner today. Now I'm picking what I'm doing. Okay, just also considering what I'm doing, right? Single leg exercises are great, all right? Things for, why are single leg exercises great? Let's completely skip over that. When we're running, we are spending our time on one leg over and over again, right? It's run, other leg, right, etc. So for that, functional single leg exercises are a great idea, okay? Core exercises are another great idea. Plain and simple, forward lean in your run gait, right? Keeping your core nice and strong so that you can stay durable too is very important. There's a lot, that could be an hour-long video about why you should train your core as a runner. And then legs, just in general, I'm really hitting my legs a lot, okay? So I'm thinking about a lot of quad, hamstring, calf, TFL, any lateral movements of the legs are really good. Things like that, okay? Try to keep it functional for your sport, okay? If you're a runner, doing a single leg sit to stand is going to be very beneficial for you, right? If you're a baseball player, doing a single leg sit to stand is probably not going to be as efficient for you, effective for you, right? Skiers, right? Lateral movements constantly for skate skiers, right? That's a great exercise to work on in the weight room then for, right? That form of exercise, okay? So, including the what? Fantastic form. Progress smart. You know, go from body weight to bands to Swiss balls to the weights, right? And then make sure it's functional. Make sure it makes sense for the runner, right? Single leg, focus on the legs or calves, feet strength, core work, tons of work here, okay? We did the why, we did the how, we did the what. If you have questions specifically with this section, it would be very good for you to reach out. My name is Jacob, Oak Endurance. Personal training, run coaching, form checking. I do gait analysis, everything in the weight room and also outside of here for runners, skiers, bikers, triathletes, things like that. It's kind of my bread and butter, and I love keeping people healthy. I love people staying injury-free, etc. If you have questions, go ahead and reach out. Thank you.